Minash-shaytanir-rajeem, Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim, Assalamu-alaikum, and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, who happens to be Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu-alaikum, Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam, Hajra, and it's been a wonderful morning. Yesterday was a respite from the bitter heat that we had been experiencing, and I think it was a breath of fresh air that we got at night and in the morning as well. It wasn't like you're getting out of the room and somebody slapping you on the face with the hot slap, as I call it. But anyway, Hajra, you know what? The other day, my sister, she had come from abroad, and she had come after a very long time.
Okay.
And while we were roaming around the streets and the roads of Islamabad, she had seen Islamabad after such a long time. She said, "What has happened to Islamabad?" She's like, it's just unrecognizable because the pictures and images that I had of Islamabad, they have almost vanished. And I'm like, well, that's how it is. The vertical constructions, horizontal constructions, they've changed the overall outlook of Islamabad. Don't you think so, Hajra?
That's very true, and I think if your sister is coming from the abroad or has arrived from the abroad, I'm pretty sure you must be enjoying the gifts that she brought, because that is a true delight to the
That's always a delight.
Yes, of course. But of course, and I think we have talked at length about how the face of Islamabad is getting changed, and I think I don't want to be more pessimistic, but with the rate of the urbanization that is going on in the coming decade or so, I think Islamabad is going to become another Lahore, and we don't want that to happen, that too in Islamabad, because we've seen how the urban face of the Lahore has changed because of the unplanned construction and the mushrooming growth of the housing
society. Well, the traffic has started to mimic Lahore already.
Oh yes. And I think one of the beauty of Islamabad was, and we've grown up in Islamabad as children here, that whenever it was becoming very hot, after 2 or 3 days, we would receive a rainfall here because of the Rawal Dam here, because of the Magala Hills here. So the beautiful ecology contributed towards this respite in a moderate temperature. But now if you see, all the trees have been slaughtered and the concrete jungles have propped up. We will talk about it. This discussion is interesting, and it's coming from a very personal tone. But Fahim, I was scrolling through my social media account, and I came across this very interesting information that a lot of millennials and Generation Z, they are abandoning their smartphone in the favor of a dumb phone. So there's another breed of phone that is coming, which do not have many advanced features. They just have the call and the message button, much like the predecessors of these smartphones. And one of the reasons why there is so much publicity giving to the dumb phones, or they're gaining traction, is that the attention-seeking or harvesting technologies, particularly when we talk about the smartphone and the addiction that they cause, and resultantly the mental illnesses that we see that are on the rise across the world. So there's a chain reaction that is going on. So people are reverting back to the practices or the norms which were prevalent in the era of our predecessor, right? So, and I think one thing that reiterates in all of this situation is that no matter how much man becomes modernized, how much technologies or inventions he creates or innovations he creates to assist him in his luxuries, one thing that stands out is that the modern man is not getting adapted or is moving away from the natural way of the system, and he's realizing this thing, and that is why he's reverting back to the old practices, because we have seen no matter how much educated you become, no matter how many degrees you have, there were lots of good things in our predecessor or in ancestors' eras that was worth applying, that was worth learning from, and that was worth living back, right? Don't you agree with that?
I totally 100% agree with that, because the attention span has decreased so much that if you talk to children, especially the children who are extremely used to the phones, they really are not interested in the other activities which we used to be interested in.
Yes.
Going out, and even if we talk about the overall environment, it's really not very, very safe to send your children out, because obviously there's so much exposure and things are getting bad. But I don't want to be extremely pessimistic about it, because if the trends are changing, maybe the environment is going to change. But having said all that, Hajra, still, if we talk about the climate situation, if we talk about the urbanization, there still are some people who are working for a greener city project, greener urban centers. They're working towards making the environment more and more healthy for the people who are living in that particular environment, because obviously living in an urban area is basically, it's something that we have to do. We have a job here, we have our family here, but the beauty of these people is that they're working towards making this area beautiful, breathable, and livable for the people who are living in these areas. And I think that's a huge achievement for these people, and huge accolades should go to these people. And I really, really commend such people. And one of such people, which I would love to introduce in our first segment today, Hajra, please.
Right, so we're very glad that we have been joined by Ms. Iram Khan. She happens to be an ecopreneur. So it's an amalgamation of the two words, entrepreneur and the people who advocate for the ecology. So assalamu alaikum, Ms. Iram, and thank you so much for coming to my show.
Welcome, and I'm really thankful and grateful that
Right.
you invited me in the show.
And I think it's absolutely our pleasure. So Fahim and I were having a very interesting conversation regarding the modernization. So I would like to further build upon it, and we will come surely to your point. And do you feel that no matter how much man become modernized, become literate, acquire a lot of degrees, but he has realized that parting away from the nature is costing that modern man a lot, and whatever the modern luxuries that he has invented is taking him away from the nature, and we see that effects in the form of climate change, in the form of the modernized society.
Perhaps time has come to go back to the roots.
Yes. Do you agree with this assertion?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I must start with the concept of biophilia. I just want to introduce, it's a very old term introduced by one of the Western scientists, and the very idea was that, like, since human beings are, like, as you just said, we are developing our societies, we are developing our infrastructures, we are going into modernization, but at the same time we are also developing lots of problems, either psychological problems or physical problems or whatever. So the biophilia concept was that, like, since we have the genes, or we are created as part of nature, we are not outside nature, we are created as part of nature. So when we are like alienating ourselves from nature, we develop some sort of disturbance in our whole being.
Oh yes.
Psychological, mental, physical, even spiritual.
True.
And then we don't know what to do. Then everybody is looking for some kind of escape. Where should we go? Either we should go to a garden, or should we plan some movie, like, but we are not realizing that there is a concept which tells us that we are part of nature, and whenever we want to apart ourselves from that kind of environment where we used to grow up for the last, I don't know, millions and millions of years, and now we are creating this concrete jungles. So we are the ones who are the most, and you can say the worst sufferers. So this is the idea behind biophilia, that men always unconsciously keep realizing what is the problem going on with me, and sooner or later they realize, yes, why the tourism industry exists. I think if
Green
we
tourism, yes.
don't have this kind of biophilia and nature connection, I don't think so. Okay, we could have created this kind of industry. Here the main purpose is, okay, whenever we think of tourism, I think 70% of the people think of natural places rather than like man-made places. There are people, I cannot say. So this is the thing, like as you just said, so this is the concept, and I truly believe on it.
Right.
I worked on it and I realized, yes, so this is the concept. If we can work on, we can create more beautiful cities, because cities are the beautiful places. But what we are doing, we are not just relating, we are not just filling the gaps. Okay, if we are creating a building, we can creating a beautiful rooftop, we can create a beautiful rooftop garden, or we can just see if the community children, they have some green spaces to play, because it's not all about the economic activity or the economic development of the city. The economic development comes with many other developments.
But also, like you very rightly said, there are certain prices to pay as far as this modernization concept is concerned. But when we're talking about urban centers, when we're talking about the cities, we cannot deny the fact that there are a lot of impoverished people, there are a lot of people who live below the poverty line, and then how would a green urban center help those people, because they're already a community who is marginalized, they already do not have the enough facilities to perhaps enjoy the nature that they should be enjoying. So, and even their living conditions are not such that they should be, I mean, nobody deserves to live in such areas, such places, right? So what should be done about those slum places, slum areas, slum communities?
If you
In
go,
the concept of, in the backdrop of
yes,
the green urban centers.
if we go deeper into the, why we have created these kind of urban centers where we have to create the slums, I think the major flaw, the major reason, when urbanization started, there are many cities of the world, they plan for the next, at least for the next 50 to 100 years. But cities who fail to plan, they have seen such. For example, I think we should not be denying, like Pakistan is one of the countries where we can easily see the lack of planning, the lack of good policies, and lack of implementation of those policies in urban centers leads to creation of these slums. Otherwise, if we have good planning, I don't think so that we must have created these slums. They are not created I cannot say nobody wants to live in these kind of places, and nobody really wants on that level that we should make some marginalized community. Nobody planned to do that. But if there is a big lack of planning, this must be the result.
I think that the
and this is the thing, why I'm stressing on the planning phase, because according to all kind of data provided by World Bank, provided by UN and whatever the international organization, now they are coming to the point, yes, this important phase, if it's missing, this will create lots of trouble. Maybe we will never can meet or solve these problems, but we can, until we start realizing, okay, what are the gaps? I cannot say that we can change the whole city of Karachi or Lahore maybe in 5 years, but we can start with one thing or something okay, what is the problem? For example, I do live in Karachi, and for the last, you can say 1 month, we are facing extreme dry weather. I was just wondering, a day before yesterday, if the temperatures are rising this way, will we as human beings can live on this earth after 10 years? I cannot literally comprehend, because the temperatures are rising.
True.
Whatever, obviously it's all the human activities. When we talk about climate change, it's 10% natural and 90% is created by us. When we try to create urbanization and the lots of
carbon
things,
emissions,
I cannot say that the human society should not develop, but there should be a balance, and the balance can be created with better policies, better planning, better implementation. Even we can see there are many neighboring countries and cities where we can see that how they are dealing with these kind of, they have the same population problem, they have the same slum problem, but now they are realizing what was the flaw, where the gaps are. So I think in Pakistan also we can easily, there are lots of data available, lots of reports available, which can, if me and you can easily as a layman read and go through those reports and can easily find out what are the reasons, the people who are responsible for those planning and development, the development of the city.
Right. So, Ms. Iram, now let's build on.
It can be done.
Yes.
The main point is that.
Yes. Let's build on this conversation.
Yeah.
Of course, it can be done, and that requires a willpower and the power at the, I think, a power corridor, and that's very important to have. And I think this problem of extreme urbanization and the lack of planning or the ill planning that I would say, it's not just a third world problem or a Pakistani problem. We see that in Chicago too, in the developed areas, in the developed countries. Chicago is also stalked by homelessness and the ill planning regarding the urbanization. So let's come to your own initiative of the green urban green city, right? So when we talk about the urban green city, what exactly is your advocacy based on for our viewers and for the layman people out there, and how there is a lot of chatter on the climate change. There are lots of discourses that are being produced. We've seen that the COP conferences are being held, and there is generally an awareness, and I think there's a lot of conversation that how it's a man-made phenomena, right? So how are you executing your project? And obviously at the global level it requires a global collective efforts, but we don't see that happening. But on the individual level, on the community level, we can have some initiatives that we can implement at the individual level. So how are you executing that?
I just want to add one thing, like I was working on tourism for the last few years, and then I realized like why this sector is like creating so much trouble. Why? Then I started learning about it, doing lots of fellowships, courses, and blah blah blah, and then I realized there must be some community-based initiatives. I'm not saying that in Pakistan we don't have. We are having lots of and hundreds of initiatives, but what is the main problem? Like people are working in silos. If I am working in Karachi city and if you are working in Lahore, we must be developing some kind of coordination. I can learn from you, from the other city. So this is our initiative basically. When I faced many problems in the tourism industry, then we came to realize that we should be doing something. So we created Climate Hub Forum. It's a forum basically, and as we were discussing before the program, it's not all about advocacy. 50% advocacy, because the data says in developing countries you need to invest a lot in advocacy. If there is no advocacy, there is no action, obviously, on each and every level.
Of course.
So we are doing advocacy using different tools, and then the other side is action. How we can engage. I'm not saying the only community we cannot do. There's always a finance factor everywhere, even if you're doing a very smaller project. But the willness and the willingness of the community. Here we are seeing, like, due to many reasons, the willingness from the community is going down and down. So and we are trying to work on that.
So one of the problems you mentioned is the finances and the willingness of the community and the community members, because usually what I find people is saying is, okay, fine, I'm going to throw the garbage in the garbage bin, what difference is that going to make, right? But if we go on a higher level, what bottlenecks do you have to face? What problems do you have to face as far as the implementation of your initiatives is concerned? Because obviously, when we talk to people, community members, they say something needs to be done on a top level. Perhaps then, if a law is made, then we'll be able to do something.
That's why I'm just repeating the word policy. And it doesn't mean like we don't have good policies. We have very good policies for urban development, for environment, for climate change. Still we need better policies. We have basically what we are trying to do in the forum, we are creating communities, trying to connect them with experts, trying to connect them with educational institute, trying to connect them with policy makers. So we are creating you can say a network of people and organization where at least we all can start communicating about what is the problem, how it can be dealt, and through we have a committee structure. We created different committees. I cannot say that we are done with that. We have just initiated, and Alhamdulillah, with many of my good friends, we also come up with in Chamber of Commerce, Federation of Pakistan. We created the climate change committee also. So basically, we are targeting every organization and every sector in the society which we believe can be beneficial to create this kind of web or network.
And Ms. Iram, so now because of the paucity of the time, I think I would like to build up the conversation on something which you said, and that struck me because you said that there's a willingness of the community is dying down, right? And in the face of the climatic changes, it's very necessary that there should be a willingness to combat this, a global menace, right? And I think let's dissect this assertion, and I don't agree with it. Why? Because I do feel there are lots of marginalized communities that are getting badly affected because of the climate change. And I think one of the case study that we discussed on the show time and again, and I think yesterday too, was about the fishermen community, right? So mangrove forests are very essential to those communities, particularly because mangrove forests are the nurseries for the shrimps and for the fishes, and they're earning their livelihood because of that, right? But in the Karachi, there's all a corporate mafia that is, slaughtering those mangrove forests because they don't look pretty or, stuff like that. And we see because of that how fishermen are suffering because their source of livelihood is going on. So yes, there are communities that are suffering. This is one example, and there are countless other communities out there, right? So if we want to tackle the menace of climate change, we have to take those communities on board and make them a change agent to protect the environment, because if the environment is degraded, they are getting affected. And now let's take the example of the tourism in Gilgit-Baltistan. So the local people there, they are getting their income because of the tourism there, right? But if we degrade the environment there because of the pristinity of the environment there, I mean, obviously, if there's no good environment there, they're going to lose their income, right? And we've been to Hunza, we've been to a lot of areas, and I've seen that local people take a lot of ownership of the environment there, right? So I think these sort of communities, they're very essential in fighting against the climate change because they are directly getting affected. And not just that, I think entirely Pakistan is also getting affected, and Ms. Iram and I were having a conversation, and she told that the level of Pakistan has been upgraded because it is the third most affected country because of the climate change, right? And it is a high time that we have this, what do you call it, we reduce our carbon footprint on the individual level, because everything should not be left to the government or state set out there, right? It is also individual responsibility, and we need to do more about it. But when we talk about the urban environment, when we talk about I mean, the marginalized or underprivileged communities, there is a segment out there how to tackle with that particular segment. We're going to discuss and develop that conversation in another segment. With that, we will say thank you to Mr. Iram for coming here, for having this wonderful conversation. And after a short break, we will come back, so don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Back to World This Morning, and I'm your host Fahim Bangash, and with me is Hajra Sati, and we had a very lovely, productive first segment talking about green urban cities. Now, in the second segment, as Hajra also told you earlier, we will be talking about this, continuing with this discussion. Obviously, it's everything is so interconnected these days. All the discussions you have, something or the other points towards climate, and if not the climate, then the environment. Now, the second guest we have is someone very interesting, someone who is very well achieved, well esteemed, and we're very happy to announce him and his presence. And so thank you very much, Afisa, for coming here and being a part of our show.
Thank you very much indeed for inviting me.
Right. So, Firoz Saab, let's build on the conversation, because we are interested in exploring the intricacies of the modernization, particularly when we talk about the urban development. And we've seen that there are particular segments or sectors or the underprivileged classes within a very modernized cities that are considered a nuisance to the city, right? Be hawkers or beggars or all of these, right? So yes, beggary is a menace to our society, because I don't think so anyone should be begging out at the streets. But in order to, we should not eliminate the beggars, but we need to eliminate the beggary. So what are some of the ways that we can eliminate the menace of beggary?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. First of all, I must give you some figures of the beggars present in Pakistan. There is an organization in Karachi, it's called Karachi Human Rights Association. According to them, the figure of the beggars in Pakistan is between 5 million to 25 million,
right,
which forms like 2.5% to 11% of the total population of Pakistan. And It is very unfortunate. The Baggary is international, I would say, phenomena, and it's really a menace to our society. But the reason being that there are many reasons why the people are forced to be begging or on the street. The first thing is that the people are the major chunk of the population is really under the poverty line, and some are very old and infirm, and some don't have enough adequate skills, and some are handicapped, physically and mentally handicapped. That is the reason why they are on the road. And as you said, that how we can eliminate what we can do, what the government can do is that by doing the legislation, and putting them in the jail is not a solution.
Right.
But to rehabilitate them, we should go for the solutions, not really putting them into jail. Although it should be banned, it should not be allowed, because it really tarnished the image of the country. And the first thing which comes to my mind is that for those people who are begging, the government of Pakistan should provide shelter homes, and they should live there in a very in a respectable manner, and their children should be offered free education. And then the government should also set up the skills centers all over Pakistan, and they should be so that they can they can get educated and hands-on experience, and they can earn their livelihood.
Right.
Also, Firoz Saab, like you specialize in the hospitality industry, and you also mentioned specializing in security as well. And you have trained people. Now, don't you think not getting rid of such elements from the society will create security issues? And obviously, since many people come to Pakistan for tourism as well, especially the northern sector, and even Islamabad, because it's one of the most beautiful capitals of the world. So don't you think it would create an issue as far as children are concerned, as far as human trafficking is concerned, as far as the overall safety and security of the people is concerned?
You're talking about, you mean how to ensure that the tourism can be encouraged, and
encouraged,
the
and beggary should be discouraged, because obviously, yes.
Right. Okay. Right. What I mentioned, all these measures, because they have been involved into a lot of crimes, drug trafficking and human trafficking, and all and even kidnapping of the children. So the government, the new government has taken has taken oath, has been formed. So what I would request and suggest the federal government, that the legislator should make some stringent laws, and they should not be allowed. And at the same time, we should concentrate more on the rehabilitation. We should provide them adequate skills, and the skills, because they can earn their livelihood, and even they can go abroad, and even because those people who are not educated, those are educated, they can really go abroad also. But sir,
sorry, I have to interject here, and I think we need to explore some. We need to take a more nuanced approach when we talk about the issue of the beggary, and that is that when you talk about disrupting the menace of beggary, we also need to analyze the intricacies of the beggary, and that is the nexus with the mafia. So there is a mafia at the end of that, and that is encouraging all of the beggars, especially on the streets, especially on the roadways where there is a congestion, or on the traffic signals, right? So how do we disrupt that nexus? Because at the end of the day, they are earning a lot of money out of it, right?
Yes.
And they do not want their money streams to be disrupted, because at the end of the day, everyone likes money, right? So tackling that mafia, and that's a very powerful mafia, very dangerous one, I mean, in the hindsight too, right?
You're very right, very right. Actually, you see, it is being operated by the mafia or the underworld, because basically what they do, they kidnap the children, and they make them, they break their limbs, etc. So that, and they're like hundreds of, and they leave them at a point, and then they do the collection. So what the government Pakistan should do, the legislator should be really make a law that such people who are behind, who are the operators, they should be dealt with an iron hand, and we need to really make the enforcement very stringent, and there should be zero tolerance at all, because as it is just a suggestion, because people like in China, for corruption and for all those malpractices, there is a capital punishment. But what I would suggest that we should be really very, very harsh when it comes to the enforcement. I think this would be a deterrence.
So, of course, when we talk about the government and enforcement level,
Right.
there should be harsh punishments.
Yes.
But what about people, laymen like us, for example, like you and I, for example? Should we be encouraging that by giving arms to such people? Because obviously Pakistani people have a very soft heart
Yes.
when it comes towards these
And
things.
very
Yes.
altruistic spirit, right?
Yes, exactly. One of the most giving nations of the world.
Yes. Actually, the best idea is, because now I will just add further, because sometime, we are helping, because we easily get carried away by the emotions. If somebody is trying to put up a face that, trying to crying or crying in front of you, so you will pull out your wallet and give some money. So the best thing is that because I think, in my opinion, this is my own experience, to check whether this person is really genuine or not. So you ask them, why don't you work? So I said, I need a servant. Can you come with me? Even if you can't do the cooking, just come with me and be a handy person. So if that person will be genuine, he will accompany you. But if this person is really a professional, because I give you an example, I have come across a video of a girl, or the young girl, presentable, and she said to the interviewer that she pretended to be a blind girl, and she earned so much of money, she amassed so much of money that she purchased 2 houses in Malaysia, and she took,
Oh my God.
she took the entire family there, and she's doing business, and she's coming quite often. So this is something that you should be really mindful of it. I mean, you can't really tell them that you don't have a change. So these people are very smart, and they will say, how much change you need? You 5,000, whatever. So you can't really say no. And now they have so smart. They'll press the bell at your residence, and you might think that you have a guest in waiting, but in fact it's a beggar. So these are really, we need to discourage them. We need to discourage them, and if there should be like shelter homes, etc., we should give to the management, like maybe some charity, etc. That is the right way, rather than that's mean we are adding to the fuel. Like by giving them money, that's mean we are promoting what they're doing.
Actually, it's a funny thing, because nowadays when you give just 10 rupees to someone, a beggar, they make a face.
Yes.
What is 10 rupees?
No, even they can make fun of you that, sir, what we are doing, we are not in like this is 2024. What is the value of 10 rupees?
10 rupees में तो रोटी नहीं आती.
That's very true, and I think that's very important that we analyze and disrupt these powerful nexus which encourage beggary. But yes, of course, you are talking about the initiatives at the state level, that states should rehabilitate them, and obviously states should look after those left out individuals who are on the society, on the street. You wanted to add something about it?
Yeah, I want to add also that, because we have, in the private sector, the people should not always be looking towards the government. People are really wealthy, even they have more wealth than the government. They can, so they should really come forward. And you should not give to the individual, but to the organization. If somebody is really needs a surgery to be done, so that money should go to the hospital rather than to the person, because it can be misused.
Exactly.
So the people should really come forward, and people. There are, quite a big chunk of philanthropists in Pakistan. They should really come forward, not always be looking towards the government, that government should do everything, because government can't do anything.
That's right, because I was looking at a report the other day over the internet, and it said that in the Scandinavian countries, the jails that they have, throughout their term, they teach a skill or two to the prisoners.
Very true.
That when they go out, they wouldn't be involved in any theft, they wouldn't be involved in any murder for money, basically.
Yes.
they would, they teach them how to fish instead of giving them a fish.
And this provision is also in the Pakistani jails and in the Pakistani law particularly, because when we talk about the Qaid ba mushakkat, so ba mushakkat means that they have to be taught some sort of skill so that they can acquire there and they can then earn their livelihood when they come out from the jail. But now, sir, I think we need to also talk about the changes or the behavioral changes that are involved in disrupting this menace of beggary, and that is very difficult to attain, because someone who is attuned to begging on the streets out there, if you tell them that you need to work and you need to put your sweat and toil into a particular work to earn the money, that person is not going to do that.
Because a person who's used to easy money, they never work hard.
He has become accustomed and habitual of that.
Actually, I'll give you a solution to this, because we as a layman, we can't deal with such a scenario. What we call upon or request the psychologist, especially the clinical psychologist, because my wife is the clinical psychologist, but I know a lot about it. Because it's clinical, the psychologist is a master of human mind. So we should really go in deeper into what are the underlying reasons for them to adopt this profession. Because as I said that the major reason or contributing factor is the economic factor, because of the economic factor. But if they are not educated, the private sector should also come forward and help the government set up actually these trade centers. And moreover, because there is an element of safarish that should be totally eliminated, and all those, there should be a trade center where they should be tested for their skills, and if they have to go abroad, they should be okayed, approved by these trade centers, that if there is a plumber, he should know the plumber, because I have been myself as the director of engineering in Dubai, and if somebody comes like through some links, like he gets hired and he can't do his job, so it will, the government will really, the government of the UAE or wherever they are working, they will not be happy, and they will say put a ban on the Pakistanis because they don't know the job.
Exactly. Yes. Well, sir, I would like to thank you very much for coming in here today, for giving us your time and contributing to our program. And I think it's quite important for all of us to highlight these factors, to highlight these issues which are present, which are prevalent in the society, and with people who are as trained and as professional as Feroz Jahangir Shah Sahab. Sir, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and talking to you regarding this very important issue. And I hope something or the other can be done in the future as well, as far as the future of Pakistan is concerned, because we need to get rid of and eliminate this menace from the society, because this is one of the bottlenecks as far as security is concerned, safety is concerned, of our future generations. And we hope and pray that one day Pakistan can get rid of these menaces. Well, with that, I'll end the program. I hope to see you tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. You guys look after yourselves. It's goodbye from Hajra Sati and myself, Fahim Bangish, and good morning.